That is I don't know if you did this intentionally, but that is a perfect segue. That provides a perfect segue. We'll get back to the Patriots and their dynasty in a second because I do want to ask you some questions about that because that's in the news. But, okay, you talked about opportunities. Obviously, the Niners had an opportunity to win, multiple opportunities to win. They had a double-digit lead, game-winning overtime, had the lead in overtime. I don't mean to because we talked about this, it felt like ad nauseum on Monday morning, but I didn't realize the legs that this story, even when I started Monday's program, ranting and raving about the fact that was a storyline, I didn't realize how much of a storyline Kyle Shanahan's decision to take the ball in overtime was going to be over the ensuing 48 hours. Since you and I were last here on Monday morning, it's Wednesday morning. Like, are y'all for real? Are y'all for real? Are people for real when it comes to
you know you want to say something else too. You know you want to say something else.
No, I mean, yeah. This take is so bad. This is so misguided. It's so bad. It's so convenient. It's so short-sighted and hindsighted at the same time. It's just so results-oriented. Like, what don't y'all understand? I feel like I'm talking to my children. What part of Patrick Mahomes is going to get the ball either way do y'all not understand? Like,
right.
The amount of assumptions, the amount of ifs, ands, and buts associated with the notion that it was so obviously a mistake by Kyle Shanahan to take the ball first, it incenses me. Like, it's like, do you know why they went for it on fourth down from the 34-yard line? Not because they were playing four-down football, because they had to.
They had to.
They had to go for it. Because if they didn't, the game would have been over because the Niners had the lead. Not because the Niners took the ball first and that gave them, because they knew what they needed. Yeah, and the Niners knew what they needed to not allow, which was a touchdown as well. Like, this is what happens when people try really hard to be smart. When they trip over themselves to be like, oh my gosh, well, not about to sound like Charles Barkley. Take them analytics and stick them where the sun don't shine. Like, there was no, look, okay, there's a difference between a wrong decision and a decision not turning out in your favor. This was the latter.
Right.
Because, as we talked about on Monday, for those that may have missed it, that would probably be a lot of people. Oh, I'm sorry, it was too easy. But, like, we talked about this on Monday. Like, this was not a new game from the start. Like, the defense had just gotten off the field. I'm telling you, if they had put Patrick Mahomes back on the field to start overtime, you know what would have happened, Michael? The same thing that happened on the second possession. They'd have scored a touchdown. They'd have found a way to score a touchdown. They'd have probably been aggressive. And this idea that the Chiefs were somehow so much more prepared and they knew the rules, and if the Chiefs had gotten the ball, second and had to match a touchdown, well, they'd have gone for two. Well, that sounds great when they're not actually having to go for two. Like, all of this stuff is such we're just pulling shit out of our ass in order to shit on Kyle Shanahan. And thank you, Kyle Juszczyk, who might watch Brother from Another, because I said the same thing on Monday, that there's a Kyle Shanahan agenda at play that, Michael, even you have to acknowledge here. Kyle Shanahan gets more shit for 28-3 than Dan Quinn does. Kyle Shanahan wears 28-3 more than the head coach or the MVP quarterback in Matt Ryan did.
Or the quarterback.
Either one of them.
Who fumbled.
Yes.
Who fumbled.
Right.
Who fumbled? Who kept them who allowed them to stay in the game? MVP quarterback and Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn's name never comes up.
23 compared. Never. Never.
Dan Quinn, just as an aside, his superpower is invisibility because he gets away with a lot of ish. He really does. This dude just got a job in Washington. And we're like, hey, how does Mike McCarthy keep his job? Dan Quinn got a new job, and they gave up 50 points. Almost damn near 50 points in the playoff game. He's the head coach of 28-3. You know what he did? You know what he had the power to do? Same thing Kyle Shanahan did, and I brought it up on Monday. Well, Kyle Shanahan, when he heard a defense, Steve Wilkes was going to call a defense, and he didn't like, you know what he did? Timeout. Super Bowl. We ain't doing that, Steve. Sorry, bruh. This is on my watch. We ain't doing that. So you mean that Dan Quinn, when all they had to do was run the ball, Dan Quinn, the head coach, couldn't say, hey, Kyle, I'm the head coach. We running the ball.
Right.
I don't like that call. We running the ball.
Right.
All we got to do is run the ball, kick a field goal. We go up 11 points. That's 3 possessions. They ain't got time.
Or
we win the game.
The head coach who has a defensive background. Like, yes, there's complimentary football. Kyle Shanahan could have run the ball more than he did. Okay, in the Patriots Super Bowl, yes, that's been a thing with Kyle Shanahan. I get it. But okay, like Dan Quinn's defense is the one that gave up the 28-3 lead. Like, what are we talking about? To the greatest quarterback of all time. So in continuing with this Kyle Shanahan thing, it's like, oh, we crap on Jimmy Garoppolo, but don't give credit to Kyle Shanahan for getting to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. And it's as if Kyle Shanahan was the one that overthrew Emmanuel Sanders. Okay, yes, he has been he can't win the big one. Again, how many times have we said that about people only for them to win the big one? But there is no shame. Yeah. I'm sorry. There is no shame in being a co-star in the stories of arguably the 2 greatest quarterbacks ever. Yes, he has blown leads because it's Tom Brady, because it's Patrick Mahomes, not because he is genetically predisposed to choking. Are there decisions that you can critique in hindsight? Yes, there are. The overtime decision, I'm sorry. I will die on this hill. It is not one of them. It is not. Because you are assuming that the Chiefs don't score a touchdown in the first possession. You're assuming, B, that Brock Purdy, who none of y'all seem to respect, would have gone down the field and matched Patrick Mahomes. Okay? You're assuming so many things. Or you're assuming that because the 49ers that claim they weren't familiar about the overtime rules, what does it matter? Your job is to go out there and execute, which they did not on offense or defense in overtime. On offense, they had to settle for a field goal. Hell, maybe he should have gone for it on 4th down in the red zone. I don't know. Maybe he should have in hindsight. Defensively, on that 4th down or any ensuing play, they could have stopped Kansas City. They didn't. That's what the game came down to, not some analytics-driven decision. And I love analytics, but in this case, they pissed me off. Not some decision, some arbitrary. It's arbitrary. It is not ironclad that he should have kicked the ball off or that you give the other team the ball first. It's not. It's not. But because it played out the way it did, everybody's conveniently piling on Kyle Shanahan, who, by the way, I ain't said 2 words to Kyle Shanahan, but I feel like it's my job at this point to keep up for Kyle Shanahan. Because it's some bullshit. This is bullshit. Everything these people are saying, Michael, is bullshit. Okay? Everything they're saying is bullshit.
Here's the problem,
come on. This is common sense.
I'm going to tell you the problem.
It should be.
It is common sense. There are 2 problems here. There are 2 problems. So, this is surprising that I'm on Team Kyle Shanahan here. I'm on Team Shanahan. Me. All right.
Thank you.
But
because you're on the side of right. You're on the side of logic.
But there are 2 mistakes. There are 2 mistakes that he made that have taken people down a side road. Kyle, keep the car on the road. If you keep the car on the road, we ain't going to have these problems. There are 2 problems. One he created, one his players created. He ain't have to say analytics. Why you bring up analytics? Just say, we felt comfortable taking the ball first. That was the right move. I liked what we had. We had a nice drive, and it stalled out. Unfortunately, we couldn't close there.
Said the opposite.
And so I know
which analytics is right.
He shouldn't have brought it up.
No, you're right.
He mentioned the word analytics, which opened the door, which opened the portal. You got to close that portal. Come on, man. We need Doctor Strange. Close up that portal. Because he opened it, and then all hell broke loose. That's one. So it became an analytics conversation, and analytics doesn't know anything about Patrick Mahomes, and can analytics tell you, okay, here we go. I got you. We're going down this road. And the second thing, this is damning. This is damning in court. Man, why your players come out and say they ain't know the rules? Oh, damn. Why your players come out and say that? It had nothing to do with not scoring a touchdown.
Exactly.
I know, but
does it matter?
But once again, it just muddies. It does matter in this sense. It muddies the conversation.
If it's a narrative, yeah. If it's a narrative,
it just muddies it up.
If you want to find reasons, like again, this wasn't Benedict Cumberbatch's Sherlock Holmes. This was Robert Downey's Sherlock Holmes. People are finding facts to suit theories instead of creating theories to suit facts. And if you are on the side of Kyle Shanahan's a choker, Kyle Shanahan is overrated, Kyle Shanahan's a Nepo baby, Kyle Shanahan can't win the big one, if that's who, or the 49ers get on my nerves, they're full of excuses, if you're on that side, then oh my God, you're going to dive head first on the idea. Yeah, okay. On the idea of like, oh, see, they weren't prepared. They didn't discuss what the overtime rules going as far back in training camp. This is what separates the Chiefs from the 49ers, is they were discussing overtime in the Super Bowl way back in training camp. Hey, dog, your job is to go out there and do your job and run the plays I call. Okay? You got Niners offensive linemen beefing on social media. Why? Because Chris Jones came unblocked and blew up the play that would have been a touchdown that they got the ball in overtime thinking they were going to score. Like nobody, regardless of whether you know the rules, nobody should go out on the first possession and be like, you know what, all we need is a field goal here. You're going out trying to score a touchdown. They all know that a touchdown is the idea there. They know that. They know a field goal doesn't win it. They should all know that by now. Whether they knew that, they were guaranteed a possession, because it was a moot point anyway, because the only adjustment is that a touchdown doesn't win the game. So this is only a conversation if the Niners go out in the first possession, score a touchdown, and then just decide to relax and say, oh, we're done, and walk off the field while the Chiefs get the ball. Otherwise,
or they celebrate
once a field goal was
like they won.
Yes.
They're like,
they start to walk off. If they had a shower Kyle Shanahan with Gatorade after they scored this hypothetical touchdown, then we're talking about not knowing the rules. Under these circumstances, once they went back on the field on defense, they knew they couldn't give up a touchdown. That's it. So what are we talking about? What we're talking about is people just don't like Kyle Shanahan for some reason, and I can't figure out why.
Yeah, well, it's some of the stuff that you mentioned. It's like,
okay.
Yeah, his dad was in the game, and then he had. But Kyle Shanahan, and in all seriousness, Mike, I like the San Francisco storyline because it's entertaining for the thing we got going here. Like you say, you don't root against anybody, you root against me. So I root against you too, and it's all love, brother. It's all love.
As you should.
So
as you should.
San Francisco, I told you the story yesterday. Michael Silver, known him for a long time, used to work for Sports Illustrated. He writes in the San Francisco Chronicle that the 49ers have built the second best team in the NFL. That's straight up. He wrote that. They built the second best team in the NFL the last 5 years. Yeah! Yeah! Keep that going. I love that.
I mean,
good for you, Mike Silver. Good for you, Niners.
If it's about participation trophies, they do have a lot of those because they always participating in the big games. To Kyle Shanahan's point, they NFC Championship games, Super Bowl, they always
have the second best franchise, but the best. You might agree with me, the best uniforms. They look the cleanest, best uniforms in the league. Ooh, that color scheme is impeccable. You ain't feeling that. Okay, all right.
No, I'm just saying. Okay. I'm so pissed off. I'm so pissed off that people are still talking about it to the point where I felt the need to still talk about it, even though I thought we emptied the clip on that whole thing on Monday. Well, I'm like, y'all still blaming.
We emptied it now.
Yeah, I think we are. Okay.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.